hanging out with Cameron French, owner of Alley Kat Brewing in Edmonton. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. So, before we chat about Alley Kat, I just want to get a kind of a perspective of where you came from. Were you born and raised in Calgary?
Yes, I was born in Calgary, raised in Cochrane for 5 years, and then moved up north to St. Albert.
Okay. I did the exact opposite. I was born in St. Albert, lived in Cochrane, and now live in Calgary.
Oh,
so,
nice.
I did the exact opposite route. So did you, when did you move to St. Albert?
About 5 years old.
So okay.
Most of my life.
Most of your life was St. Albert. You're a St. Albert boy?
Yeah.
You went to Princeton, is that right?
Yeah, I was down there playing hockey, going to school there, economics down there, and then I came back and finished an accounting degree at U of A afterwards.
At U of A? Did you end up playing hockey at U of A as well, or no?
No, I didn't play hockey there.
Okay. I too went to U of A. Beautiful, lovely school. So college hockey in the U.S.?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So hard to not enjoy playing hockey and getting to see a lot of different of the East Coast and travel a bit.
So then you graduated with an economics degree and as an accountant, is that right?
No, my final accounting degree is from U of A, yes. So
yeah.
I was taking economics there, though, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then how long were you an accountant before you got into the beer industry?
About 10 years or so. So I worked downtown at the big public auditing firms for about 5 or so years, and then moved on to industry and worked in oil and gas for a while and construction. Did that for a while, and then jumped into the beer industry after about 10 years worth.
Okay, so this is what I find interesting is because as an accountant, when you go to buy a brewery, it would seem to me that it's the accountant that would advise someone not to buy a brewery. So
drink your profits away.
that it's more of a labor of love for a lot of people than it is. Hopefully you make money at it, but it's definitely a challenging industry.
It definitely is a challenging industry. A little bit different in this case. Alley Kat, obviously a well-established brand and names, has stood the test of time for 25 years, and now we're into our 28th year now. So
yeah.
Definitely a little bit different than starting from scratch on that side of things. So the distribution, the name, and everything was already there. So that helped on that side of it. And then also with the transition as well, with Neil being around and in the industry and so well known as well, he stuck around for transition side of things. So that was really good too.
And so you growing up in St. Albert, you would have known about Alley Kat basically your whole life, right?
Yes. Yeah, you betcha.
And because I think, and me having went to U of A, I understood even 20 years ago, it was always a big part of kind of the Edmonton, landscape in terms of the beer industry. How did that come about that you were able to purchase Alley Kat? Because, I don't know. I think of that as like a really good opportunity for somebody.
Yeah, for a long time, it kind of went under the radar for the longest time. It wasn't actively being shopped around or advertised or anything, so it kind of myself and a previous business partner had come across it and had met Neil, been in discussions with Neil, and it kind of one thing led to another, and more or less just kind of turned into what is the plan moving forward? And at the time there wasn't a hard fixed plan, but ultimately Neil was getting closer to ready to retire, him and his wife, so they were looking to have a plan in the end. And after about a year's worth of discussion, it kind of came down to, okay, I think this makes sense and works, and we have a good transition plan, and all the managers and staff and everything were on board, staying on, and moving with the transition as well. So that's kind of how that opportunity came about. It's kind of more of an organic just kind of happened to reach out, and it worked that way.
So was it for sale, like officially, or was it something that you might have started the conversation?
Not officially out there, no. Not that people had kind of known. So when it was announced that it was sold, it was a fairly big surprise on that side of things, I guess. Like a lot of people reached out to us and was like, "Oh, is this actually happening? Is this true?" It's like, yeah, that actually happened. So
yeah,
we had a number of TV shows and stuff contact us, so for some interviews and stuff like that. So we had always thought it was like, oh, like this. Not going to be a huge, it'll be kind of just a quiet transition, but it garnered a lot more attention than we anticipated.
Well, and I think people were pleased that it was being sold to some local people too, right? Like I think
For
with
sure.
Alley Kat being a local brand, I think it meant a lot to people that it stayed local.
For sure, and that was one of the big pieces too of what Neil and Levon had looked at. They would definitely wanted to keep Alley Kat local and keep it independently owned. So that was a big piece of moving forward, and that's kind of also helped us with the opportunity on that side of it. It was like we are local, we do want to keep that, and we want to keep the Alley Kat name and the brand and keep moving it forward on that side of things. So that was a big piece of it.
So why did you choose to get into the beer industry? Like what attracted you to the beer industry?
Overall, it was, like I said, it was a good opportunity. It was a well-established brand, and the beer industry is fun. I like beer. I like craft beer, so that was a good piece of it. And then I get to combine owning a business with beer. So,
Yeah.
so you get to have the adventures of owning a business, but also have a little bit of fun with putting beer in a can. So I always, whenever we look to bring on new people or have people or discussions or meetings, or whatever, I always say like yeah, there's difficult times, there's hard times, there's stressful stuff, but at the end, we put beer in a can, like, so we get to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of beer in a can, so you brought the latest Dragon series. So you're telling me this literally just dropped like hours ago, kind of thing.
It launched this morning, yeah. So it is our quarterly Dragon series that we have. So this one features the Strata hop. So it's a more along the lines of a traditional West Coast IPA. You get a little bit of that pininess to it. You get a few hints of a different fruit to it, but for a big beer, it's nice. It's relatively soft, I would call it, for a
Right.
7.5% beer. So
For 7.5.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a good breakfast beer.
Perfect.
And it's great. So one of the things that I think about, like you said, you bought what was an established brand. How is it, how are you able to kind of honor the tradition of what you bought, but yet, kind of put your own stamp on things? So this, for example, the Dragon series had been around for quite a long time before you purchased it. So is there, like, how do you strike that balance of respecting kind of the tradition, yet, putting your own brand to it?
Yeah, for sure. So we definitely kept a lot of the existing lineup and brands. So like the Dragon series is our quarterly rotating. That's been going on for a number of years. We also have our Back Alley series, which is our brewer developed beer. So that's on quarterly release as well, just on off months of the Dragon. So those two brands have just continued on, always changing beers, changing hops, but we've definitely continued on promoting that. The core lineup stayed relatively similar so far, but we've gone on and done a number of different one-off releases, seasonal releases, those types of developments. We've also recently, just this summer, released our seltzers. So that was a dive into a brand new game on that side of things. So we released our 3 seltzer flavors to move into that. So Alley Kat's pushed a little bit past just beer now. So
Yeah.
a lot of testing and time went into that, but I think we landed on a pretty good and tasty product.
Nice. And so how, I mean, on some level, it makes sense that you add a seltzer to your lineup, but it's a totally new category. So how has that been for you guys?
It's been good so far. It is a tough battle, don't get me wrong. It's a full market. There's not a lot of craft in the market, which is the one piece we're trying to push for sure. We are
Right.
pushing up against a lot of the big guys, and the shelf space is growing out there for this market. That being said, there's a lot of competition. And I still think we will see some more competition in that area, but we'll keep pushing and moving forward in that. And we have the Alley Kat name with it and the backing of we do produce good products. So
Yeah.
just keep pushing that and get it in as many people's hands as possible.
And so I noticed the name being 7. What's the story behind that?
So it is 7. It's our craft hard seltzer, proudly produced by Alley Kat as well. We have that on there, but we went with 7. So we threw out a number of names, and this was probably the hardest part of our development was the actual name and branding. Mm-hmm. So we went with that. We wanted it to be a local Alberta craft, known across Alberta, just because, like I said, there's not a lot of craft out there in this market. And we went with 7. So we had tossed around a number of names, from anything from names that made sense to just words to you name it. And we thought, well, then we circled back and said, okay, well, we want this to be a brand that kind of brings everybody together. So that's kind of what we have so we have share the moment as our tagline.
Okay.
And so we're trying to bring people together. So we thought, okay, well, there's always that saying of there's 6 degrees of separation across the board and everything on that side of it. And we're like, well, what if we are that 7th element that just brings everybody together? So ultimately we landed on the name 7. So
Nice.
that's kind of where that came from.
So when you're making a new product like that, what's the process? Like, how collaborative are you with the team? Because it seems to me that you have a really strong team, and that's something that carried over from Neil's time. You've managed to kind of keep that culture intact. So how do you guys work as a team to kind of come up with these ideas?
Yeah. So it is a whole group effort for sure. So we have everything from our sales team being involved to what they see in the market, doing product research, we test different beers, different seltzers, you name it. We always try different stuff just to make sure we know what's going on, what's out there, what's popular, what's trendy. Our brewers are involved on that side of it, so they come up with ideas, anything from what they want to see in beer to seltzer to flavors to styles, all that side of things. Our marketing's heavily involved on stylistic design, that side of things. And then we even go so far as we have a whiteboard in our kitchen lunchroom that we have just an open suggestion to write down beer styles, seltzer styles, names of things. We don't even have to have a beer made for it. People just write names on the board sometimes, we can go from there. So we go all the way down to that level. And then in terms of actually testing the new product, a lot of trials, a lot of sample beers. We went through and we did blind taste tests. So our flavors of seltzer are raspberry lemon, cucumber mint, and mango passion fruit. We went and bought anything on the market that had raspberry, lemon, mango, not a lot of cucumber out there. That was our one-off, but bought every single brand we possibly could. We did blind one-off tastings. We had people signing up and coming into the breweries. We had a few hundred people come through the breweries and blind taste test multiple versions of ours and give us feedback on all of those. So we had months and months of testing going to these.
I love it. I'm always curious about beer, like culture in terms of, at a brewery, what is the culture of the team? It seems to me, just looking at your team, that you've managed to keep the core people that were a part of Alley Kat. Chase, your brewer, being one of them. So he's been there, you said, for 15 years?
Yeah, Chase is over 15 years now with us and brings a ton of experience. I'm sure if you talk to brewers around Alberta, a good chunk of them would know who Chase is. And they've either talked to him before or met him before. A lot of them have asked him for advice on that side of things. So definitely a huge part of our team for sure. And not just from the brewing side of it. Chase is heavily involved in all aspects of the brewery. So big piece of it for us for sure, and brings a lot of knowledge and gives us good advice, and a lot of advice. Some things just he already knows don't work when we throw out ideas, and he's like, that's not going to work. It's like, okay, that's fine, but definitely a great piece to have.
Well, and it's funny because I think of Chase as, a young brewer, and he is still a young guy, but he's been in the industry for a long time now. So he brings a perspective, right? Like he was really there before, the craft beer scene really, really became what it is today.
For sure, yeah. He's been with Alley Kat for a very long time. So yeah, before craft beer was actually a thing.
Yeah.
He was involved in it for sure.
So oftentimes I think with guys like that, when you bring ideas to them, they might be hesitant. So, when you start talking about we're going to do a seltzer and stuff like that, is it something you need to convince him to get on board with, or what's his perspective on new products like that?
No, definitely very open to it, because on some of these products, it's definitely a learning process too. And Chase,
totally,
I can have a conversation with him daily and learn something new, whether it's beer or completely unbeer related. A lot of knowledge comes with Chase, and like I said, across all aspects of everything. So even doing something like this, there was research involved, there was development time involved. Big piece of just, I think it's also fun to him. He likes the development side of that sort of thing. So it is experimental. Some things, he will say, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's possible. It's like, okay, we'll go on to the next idea. But there's definitely there's that, I like that collaboration side of it of, okay, well, tell me what will work, or how can we make this work? Or he'll even bring up ideas to me sometimes. It's like, okay, well, let's give it a shot and try it.
Totally.
More than happy to try it.
Well, and I think that collaboration between, the brewers and the sales and marketing is so important. I've seen it in the past. I feel like the collaboration is way more common than it used to be. I almost feel like it used to be more kind of battling each other, where the brewers would feel, this is just good product, and good product sells itself. Good product is vital, but good product, I don't think, sells itself. You need to have a strong marketing and sales team, and when those two teams are working together, then you have something special.
For sure, I agree 100% on that. So in the past, maybe that was the case, but now going forward with 100 plus breweries out there in Alberta, plus all the ones outside of Alberta that import here.
Yeah.
There's so much craft beer out there now and craft beer is just an ever growing market right now. So there is that need to, how do we pick that can up on the shelf out of the thousands of other cans out there? So
Yeah.
there's definitely a big sales and marketing piece in addition to actually producing a good product.
No, absolutely. One of the cool things, and I know you're really big into like camping and hiking, and that sort of thing, but a collaboration that you guys have done is with another local company called Kuma, which is kind of like an outdoor, I'm going to describe them as an outdoor furniture store, like a camping, not store, but like a camping equipment and apparel. Really, really cool brand.
Oh, for sure. Those guys are, well, one, they're an excellent partner that we've been working with now for quite a while. And yeah, you're right. They have a very awesome brand, very well known. And actually, for those that don't know, like they are local Edmonton, but they are a North American wide company. So they've got distribution across all of North America. They've got people throughout Canada, US, you name it. But yeah, a lot of really cool gear that they have. We actually outfit our patio in the summer. What we do is we have our normal tables and that side of things, but we have an entire section where we have all of their different chairs, their fire bowls, their tables and stuff. So we do about half that. We have their games from ladder ball to beanbag toss, that side of things. So yeah, we do that. We host some different parties with them, launches with them, and we also do a few beers with them. So this summer we created a mix pack called the Weekender with them. So we had 3 different beer styles in there this summer, and then we're looking at doing some things coming up as well. So we'll be attending the Banff Festival with them, having some fun there. So.
Yeah. How do collaborations like that come about? Like, does Kuma approach you, or are you approaching Kuma on those things?
They the way it worked is they initially reached out to us and asked about looking at a beer to go with their most classic chair, their Lazy Bear.
Yeah.
So they were looking for a Lazy Bear. So we said we thought it was a great idea. So jumped on board, and that's how Lazy Bear Blonde Ale was born. So that is the main flagship beer that we kind of partner with them. We've done a few different one-offs since then. But yeah, so it's just something that came about quite organically, and more than happy to keep working with them. We've done a number of different festivals with them, events with them. They attend Beer Fest on that side of things now. We host events at the brewery, some launches of their products on that side of things. So
yeah, they're huge, and I didn't realize that because I was kind of introduced to them through you guys, Alley Kat, in that collaboration, brought them to the beer festivals and stuff like that. And so I went and met with them at their warehouse in Edmonton, and I don't know what I was expecting. I try not to really. I keep my expectations like not low, but I just don't even think about what I'm getting into. And then I got there and I was absolutely blown away as how big they are.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit, this is a big company.
Yeah, it's a massive facility to go look at, and just to see the amount of product that goes through there and the number of different products and chairs they have there too. I know that's definitely, those are the chairs that I use when I'm camping with my family as well. They're super comfy, and I noticed them more and more as we started partnering. I noticed more and more around. I was like, man, there's a ton of people. You go to any campground, there's always people with the chairs, the blankets, the carpets, and everything. It's like they're a fantastic brand. They make really great stuff and very comfy. And so it's been a great partnership overall. We really enjoy working with them.
No, they're awesome. So I wanted to talk about community because community I kind of break down into a few different categories. But first of all, just Alley Kat's, how you guys are involved in the Edmonton community because even when I went to U of A, which Alley Kat would have been relatively young when I was at U of A, but even back then, I was part of the marketing association, and I would ask them for help, and they never hesitated. I know you were telling me about a couple initiatives, like there's they're involved. You guys are involved with MS and a bunch of different things. How important is that component to what you guys do?
It definitely is. That's part of the Alley Kat brand, and that's kind of a tradition that we've made sure we've carried on, is being heavily involved in that community in Edmonton and even across the entire province as well. So it could range from things like we've worked with a number of the local junior hockey teams. So the Sherwood Park Crusaders are one we work with closely. We also worked with teams out in Drayton Valley, Bonnyville, Olds. We produced beers with them, and then a portion of proceeds were donated back to the team on that side of things, which that comes from my background of being in the hockey side side of things.
Right.
But as you mentioned, like we've worked with MS for a number of years on some of their items. We work with different pride groups as well. So we produce our full squeeze beer with portion of proceeds being donated back. The Heart Society is definitely one that we've worked with. So that's the Humane Animal Rescue team here in Edmonton. So we've done the last 2 years an exclusive beer with them with proceeds going back to them as well. And even, as you mentioned, working with different teams at Q and U of A, NATE. So we often partner with their marketing groups or things like that. And we work with their classes and we take on 1 or 2 groups every kind of semester and do some different partner projects where they're doing market research and they're doing some of their class projects. So I know I've attended a few seminars with them and kind of weighed in, asked questions, done that side of things just to help out those groups as well.
Nice. And then the other component of community is the beer community. And with you guys being, you guys were around before any of the other local breweries. How does that all fit in? Because I feel like on some level, you think about Happy Beer Street, for example, you're part of that. But then there must be another component where you're almost like mentors to a lot of these people. So how does maybe just talk about what the Edmonton beer community has evolved into?
Yeah, and I like how you describe that as a whole community. So we definitely, if someone needs something or help, even on our end too, we reach out to some of the local breweries. So sometimes you got to find some different hops or malt that you may need for a specialty beer, or someone's reaching out to you on that help, or even with equipment help on that side of it. We all kind of work together to collaborate on that piece of it. We are all competitors on one sense, but at the same time, we're also kind of a group that's all going against the larger competition in general. So we're trying to push that whole craft, initiative and the people working towards that craft side of things. So even on the Happy Beer Street as well, there's definitely a lot of collaboration. We meet on a regular basis. We host events. Our most recent one was kind of a walking tour. We had some artists at every brewery painting some large murals that stayed on site, and then there was a walking tour hosted for that. So the entire team down there, we kind of every month to 2 months we host different events once a month to try to garner as much attention to that area in Edmonton as well. So.
Yeah, and from everybody that I've talked to involved, so Doug from the Monolith I was talking to, he was just like, it's amazing. And Troy I was just chatting with from Long Roof, and so it's really cool to see that those things are happening where there is that authentic collaboration, because we can talk about it in general, and but when you see specific examples of you guys working together, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's awesome, and I think we kind of just started pushing that, especially the Happy Beer Street side of things. We just started kind of getting that up and running this summer for the most part. So we'll continue working on it. We've got some different ideas and stuff coming for next spring, summer as well that we're excited about, and we'll have coming down the lines as well. So there will be some different things coming out.
One of the cool things is, obviously COVID was shitty for everybody, but talking to a lot of breweries as we've been able to visit them while we're in Edmonton here. A lot of them were saying that this summer for them was really, really good. And they got a really good sense, people were coming back to the tasting room, events were well attended, and they were busy, and they had a really good, just a good feeling for the future of it. With that, though, there still are challenges. So, let's knock on wood and say COVID's behind us, but, the challenges now, with a lot of people, it's staff shortages. Obviously, inflation is insane. Distribution channels are still kind of messed up to some degree. What do you see are some of the bigger challenges for the industry right now?
The biggest, well, like you said, the staffing shortages. That's definitely across the board. Not only with breweries on that side of it. Fortunately, the craft beer industry, I do believe, is a fairly fun environment to be a part of. So typically you are able to get staff on that side of things. Again, sometimes the experience, it depends on that level. We definitely noticed it too in a lot of our partners. So a lot of the restaurants, bars, the hospitality industry, that it's definitely a piece in there that you see. The inflation piece, I would say, is probably the biggest. There's no doubt we've seen things go anywhere from up 5-10% to doubling in price.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest piece for sure. That's no different than throughout our lives everywhere, I would have to say. So if you look at groceries, just day-to-day items that you're buying, the inflation piece is the biggest piece for us to try to manage and pretty much just try to be ahead of. So contract out as much as we can in advance, lock in prices now. We know they're not going down, so just commit to as much as possible. Some of it's hard. You're gambling, obviously, on how much you think you're going to need versus are you under or over, but it is a gamble to hedge your bet on that side of things. So some of that we are trying to do as much as possible. Work collaboratively with breweries, do group purchasing if you can, try to get the best side of things, get as big as orders as possible so we can try to keep our costs down as low as possible. None of us want to raise them, but at the same time, it happens like everything else, unfortunately.
I know, and that's the challenge, is because it's really hard to, in a lot of situations, to pass that on to the consumers, right? Because, you know, they're willing to spend X amount for a beer and they don't necessarily care what it costs you to produce that.
For sure, and that's one of the biggest ones, even working all the way up to with Beer Canada, for example. So I know there was some working with them on the excise tax. It's the only tax out there that raises every single year. This year is expected to be a very large one. There's a number of breweries all across Canada that have gone in and are pushing the government to hold off on that. So we're hoping that's the case, but that's going to be a long fight, and we'll see how that one goes.
I feel like they ask for that every year and they never get it. Like it's like because you know what I mean. It's just like because why does it just kind of
automatically goes up every year and for no reason.
Yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah, we're the only industry that gets that automatic tax increase every year on that side of it.
Yeah. So what is your vision for Alley Kat? Like, how long has it been since you bought it now?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. That's crazy. What's your vision? Like, I feel like now you're kind of, settled in. You're very much a part of the community, the industry. You know what it's all about. Where do you see Alley Kat in, let's say, 5 years from now?
Yeah. So like you said, the funny thing is, after 2.5 years, this will actually be the first, like you said, knock on wood, normal winter that we're going to operate. Haven't had a normal winter of operation yet in 2.5 years due to COVID, obviously, but knock on wood, that's the case.
Yeah.
Push through that. We do probably have some changes coming down the line. We want to make sure Alley Kat is up to date, as fresh as possible out there. We want to make sure we are in front of our existing customers that we have, but also continuing to grow some of our newer, younger customers as well. In addition to that, looking at our beer lineup, our offering, expanding our reach throughout Alberta, but also continuing beyond Alberta borders as well. So,
nice.
Because the majority of our work is in Alberta. We have expanded a little bit. We're doing a little bit in Saskatchewan, a little bit up north. But yeah, I would like to see that grow as well. So that's kind of the way we're pushing. Ideally, obviously, we have more of a free trade market across Canada, which is not the case in beer either. But we'll continue to work on that as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised at just how hard it is to sell beer in your own country. You know what I mean? Like, because once you hit those borders, provincial borders, it's just like, no.
Yeah, it's a different board and different government you're dealing with in every single province. So it's definitely it's very different on that side of it. So there's some that are easy to, Alberta probably being the easiest one to work with, but there are other ones out there that are quite easy to work with. I know I've actually had a provincial government or provincial territory pocket dial me once back. So that's kind of funny on that side of things. But so there's some that are quite easy to work with and some that are definitely more difficult and a lot more hoops to jump through. So
yeah. When I was asking about challenges, one of the things, like when you talk about inflation and stuff like that, it's like you having an accounting background must be so important right now for navigating through what the specific challenges are right now. Because when you look at, and say someone owned a brewery, but their real strength was like they were brewers. Navigating through these challenges might not be. It would be more difficult. You as an accountant, I mean, does that give you kind of I don't know if it's a benefit, but you know what I mean? Like the way the way that you look at Alley Kat, And the way that you're able to solve problems as an accountant must be a huge benefit right now.
I think it definitely helps for sure. It allows me to use some of my past skills on that side of things for forecasting, for projecting out different scenarios, a number of scenarios too, because obviously you never know best worst case scenario, and worst case scenario we've seen when things completely shut down and you go that route. So there's that side of things. So it definitely allows to plan in advance on that side of things. So yeah, I'm definitely always trying to plan it in advance for not only for the coming month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months down the road, but also the next year, the next 2 years, 3 years. So planning all of that out in advance definitely helps on that side of it.
And especially when, from the brewing side, you have a guy like Chase who's just, you're so confident with his ability to produce high quality products. So it's, when you know that both ends of the business are being well taken care of, right?
Exactly. So it's, leaning on Chase for that side of the expertise, obviously from the brewing side, and even in the entire team as well. So our sales team, our marketing team, our events in front of house team, we have a really good group in general. So we have that experience. We have all those people there that I can rely on, that they don't need me to be looking over their shoulder by any stretch. They have it under control. So it's great. Yeah. It's great to have those people on board.
Okay, so I'm always interested in what people are passionate about. I'll start with your personal life though, because I mentioned that you like camping. You're camping, hiking. But running is kind of a psychotic passion of yours. And I use the word psychotic because you mentioned that you did the Canadian Death Race, which is, how many kilometers is that?
125.
125, and what is it?
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah.
So do you have to finish in 24 hours, or what? Or is that?
Yes, or you time out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't. You can technically finish, but they won't. They'll classify you as a did not finish over time.
Yeah. So okay, what makes you want to do something like that?
I think it's the competitive side of me that just wants to see if I can do it. So it continually pushing and it started out quite a bit smaller. So after the whole hockey thing ended, it was okay. I still have that competitive side of me, want to do things. Went to starting out some of the running races and the hiking and the trail races. Definitely a lot shorter to begin with, doing only 10Ks, 20Ks up to marathon style. Turned into, I think we can push it further. So kind of did the half the race. So split it kind of 60 kilometers kind of thing. And then decided, okay, well, you know what, let's try to go further. So do a lot of training, head to the mountains, go do some different trainings. So hit 70, hit 80K kind of thing. It's like, I think you can push it all the way. So let's give it a shot. Why not?
Wow. Good for you, man. Because I run, and I like to trail run, but I'm trying to think 125K. And just the mental component of that being 24 hours. So how do you break it down? When does it start in the morning? What's the...
So this one was 8 a.m. in the morning, take off. It was a hot day. It was hot and smoky when I did it last year. So it was about 32, 33 degrees. Is in Grand Cache, so in the mountains. So yeah. I'd seen a lot of the trails race, so I knew what they were, but just kind of take it step by step and keep moving on. And you have a team helping you, supporting you at every leg. So at the end of it, you're not necessarily moving very well after 60, 80K when you come in to grab some new food, some water, a lot of duct tape on that side of things. So you're taping feet up, taping blisters up, cuts, scrapes, you name it, that sort of things. Some of it is difficult. You definitely fall. There's pieces that you slip and slide and kind of fall down the hills a few times here and there, hit the rocks, because you are going up mountains. Basically, you summit 3 mountains on the race. So yeah, it's not definitely not a short elevation on that side of things.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you. And one of the things that makes me think of though is striking a balance. And when I say balance, I don't mean 50% work, 50% personal time. I think balance is different for everybody. But in this industry in particular, I think the idea of balance is more important than maybe even other industries, because to be in the beer industry, but to have that component of your life that is, a healthy lifestyle. How important is that to you?
Very important. So when you say when I think of balance, I think of obviously the work and then the life balance side of it, but part of that is the healthy lifestyle. So that is staying active, staying out there, whatever you're doing, but also in addition to family balance as well. So I've got 2 little kids that I like to coach their sports and always try to be home for dinner with them, kind of thing, that side of things. So there's definitely that side of it. And my wife and kids, we like to go out, like you said, we do camp. We try to get away on the weekends in the summer on that side of things, and in the winters, working with their sports, their swimming, hockey, soccer, gymnastics, that side of things. So go out and do all of that as well.
So do you enjoy like you said you coach your kids?
Yes.
Is that something that do you coach your kids because no one else puts their hand up, or do you coach your kids because you just love the coaching component of sports?
I do like the coaching side of it. I was coaching hockey already before I had kids as well. I personally think it's important to do that and to give back to that side of things. I had some really good coaches when I was growing up, so hopefully I can be a part of that as well. So I coached a number of really good kids before I had kids, and I've seen them move on to some pretty successful careers on that side of things, and then also hopefully continue to help coach my kids as well as their friends and other kids as well, just to kind of give back on that side of things.
Yeah. And then, so how important is it for you when you talk about your team and the culture to encourage your team to have that life balance too? Because, you could work everybody, to the bone, but ultimately you want them to come back happy, right?
For sure. And that's definitely a big piece of ours. So that work-life balance is important on our side of it. We have staff that have young kids as well, so it's important for them to spend time with their kids. Kids get sick, you have to last-minute shift. I have to stay home today because I've got kids I can't send to school, that side of things. So that's important. And even if staff that doesn't have kids too, it's important for them to spend time with their family, their friends on the weekends, in the evenings, that side of things. Make sure people do take that time off and enjoy that. And then from a work perspective too, have that time as our staff to go do some fun events as a group staff event. So we're actually in a couple weeks here, we're going to take a Monday off and go to we're going to take a bus trip down to go see a malting facility. We're going to go do tours there. We're going to have lunch out there and stop at we're going to stop at another facility on the way home just to do a tour and tasting. So.
Nice. Is that RAR?
Yeah, we're going to see RAR.
Nice. Yeah, that's. I grew up in Red Deer, so RAR is. I'd never thought of any. Like Alex is like the smallest town in the world, and then when I went to visit RAR for the first time, it's just like this gigantic building in what potentially could have been a ghost town had RAR not kind of come in and.
So our team's really looking forward to it. Yeah. Last year we did Red Shed.
Yeah.
So we went to Red Shed, spent the day down there, had some really good lunch with Cilantro, brought it out for us, that was nice. Great. The team really enjoyed that trip, and then we stopped at Blind Man on the way home for a tasting, so that was fun too. And they gave us a quick tour of their facility, and This time, we're going to RAR and doing a tour there.
Nice, that's awesome. So in terms of passion, when you think about work now and the brewery, what are you most passionate about? And are there things about owning a brewery that you're surprising, that you are surprised about in terms of that you wouldn't have expected to be passionate about?
I really like seeing what we can create, just coming up with those new ideas in terms of different beers, different ideas, different flavors, trying to just come up with something new and something different. And then the approach of how to actually push that beer out to the public, how to sell it, how to market it, how to just bring it to life kind of thing is basically, that is definitely a big piece of it there. So just being heavily involved in that day-to-day side of things, I really enjoy that.
I don't even know if this is, I'm asking you this as an accountant, but we were mentioning, so the Dragon Series beer that you brought here. So you were mentioning that it just got into Connect like a week ago?
Just this week.
Just this week.
Yeah.
So then is it fun watching as it sells and where it's being allocated to and stuff like that?
It's definitely very interesting to see who's grabbing what and who's lining up and waiting. It even comes down to we have actual customers that come into the brewery and they have, for example, we have a number of dedicated Dragon kegerator accounts that are home, and they come and get 20-liter kegs. You can see, and they're waiting for the next one. So there's people that love the Dragon series and are coming specifically for that series, and along the other lines of different launches and stuff we do too. But
totally,
it's very interesting to see people follow some of those things and how passionate people are. That's awesome to see. And
I love how your guys' brewery has evolved too, because when Alley Kat started, there wasn't really tasting rooms, and it was a brewery was more of a manufacturing facility essentially, right? And so you guys have had to evolve to kind of become a place where the public is welcome and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not a brew pub or a restaurant or bar by any stretch. We don't have that side of things, but we definitely encourage people to come on in. You can order food in, you can bring food in. We have some restaurant partners that deliver to us, which is great. You could get food however you want. We've had people bring in bag lunches before.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to come on in, you can do tours, you can do tastings, you can have pints, flights. Oftentimes in the summer we'll have food trucks. Sometimes on the weekend we've had dessert trucks, different events on that side of things. So the patio fills up in the summer for sure, and the inside awesome. It's a nice little facility. So we host some events on that side of things. Like you said, it's evolved over time, and I think it'll continue to evolve. It's not something that we're not looking to compete against our restaurant and customer partners on that side of things, but definitely just a place for people to come in and just to try our beer.
Absolutely. Now, Neil is, I would say, in Alberta, and certainly, a very well-respected person in the community. So Neil being the original owner of Alley Kat, does he still come in? Does he still kind of look at things and say, nope, you're doing that wrong? Or does he come in and kind of see how you're doing, and what's the connection there?
Yeah, for sure. So when the initial transition happened, Neil stayed on for about a year to help with transition and just the learning and the growth side of that things. And then he has officially retired since then, but comes in every so often. Neil and I, we grab a pint. He still comes in and likes to grab beer. Still drinks Alley Kat quite a bit. He does spend a lot more time on the retired side of things, but still comes in, still chats with people, still has beer. So no, it's good to see him around still.
No, it's he was always such a good person, and especially as new breweries were coming up, I think he was someone that people really looked up to, and he was such a big mentor for a lot of people. So and I think that just the transition from Neil to you has been so good. Like I said, for Edmonton, I think it was important that Alley Kat remain local, and so the transition has been really cool. It's interesting to see, you guys evolve, but I also really respect the fact that you're respecting a lot of the things that they had in place. So.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's been a good transition overall, and hopefully other people see it the same way. But we've kept some of the transition or some of the tradition, and we've been able to put a little bit of our own spin on it as well, which is nice.
So, do you have a favorite beer? Am I allowed to say that? What's your go-to? So after hockey, what do you have in the locker room?
I'm a classic Skåne drinker.
Yeah,
I like Skåne. It's a great beer. It's we kind of call it our intro to craft sometimes, but it's got definitely a lot more flavor than your traditional lager or macro beer out there, but it's just a great everyday drinking beer. If I'm in the summer, I like our Mangalore. It's a good summer beer.
Yes, yeah, that is a good one. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your story, man. It's always nice to connect.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
No problem.